Hi, I'm Ann Weiser Cornell, and this is a webinar on relief from burnout, getting yourself back again. And I thought maybe I'd share some slides to start with. Relief from burnout, getting yourself back again. That's what we're going to talk about today. So here's me. I'm Ann Weiser Cornell, and I believe in helping people to accept all of you, even the anxious, sad, stressed parts. I'm the president and CEO of Focusing Resources, and I'm the co-creator of Inner Relationship Focusing. I'm the author of 21 Days to Better Boundaries, a guide to setting boundaries with kindness and compassion. And here's what we're going to do today. Our topics are how to tell if what you're feeling is burnout or overwhelm or something else. Then we're going to get into some processes that are intended to make your life easier, like prioritizing, asking for help, making fewer decisions, and then what to do if you can't even do those. And then we're going to go on to how to be compassionate to your feelings of exhaustion and it's all too much, so you have a calmer attitude toward your life. And then we're going to talk about the next steps beyond this webinar. Okay? So the starting question is it burnout or overwhelm or something else? Well, I found a definition of burnout online, and this fits for me, that burnout is a state of complete mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. So it's exhaustion mentally, meaning you can't think as well. Physically, you're tired, you're worn out, and it's emotional exhaustion as well. Now, if you don't feel complete mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion, that's okay. You still belong here, because everything we're going to say today is helpful at every stage on the road to burnout. And maybe we can catch some of you before you get all the way there. And we understand that prolonged stress and overwhelm can become burnout over time. So let's see what we can do to help with that. So just mentioning some signs of burnout. One might be that you're feeling disconnected or numb from your life, from the people in your life, from the things you need to do, the feeling of disconnected or numb. And it might be that as you go through your day, you space out, you go blank, you find yourself in periods of blankness. That's another way people recognize burnout sometimes. And then there's the experience of being irritable and reactive, where something might ordinarily be okay, it's all right, I can deal with this. Instead, if you're in a state of burnout, the same thing would drive you crazy, or you want to bite somebody's head off. The feeling of being out of control is pretty common when people experience burnout. And also the need to distract yourself for longer and longer periods of time through screens or whatever it is you use to distract yourself. And then on important things, procrastinating. So feeling like those important things are piling up and they're not getting done. And that's really tough too. And then another sign of burnout might be having a hard time deciding things, indecision, feeling like I don't know what to do. Well, you know what? Even if you feel all of these things, you have already taken the first huge step toward healing your burnout. Do you know why? Because you're here. Let's take that in for a moment. You got yourself here. You are here at this webinar. Beautiful. Well, I'd like to pause with you a moment and simply take stock of how you feel these days. And we won't worry about the label burnout. We'll never mind if we call it burnout or something else, but just taking stock of how you feel these days. So let's pause together for a moment and just be aware of yourself, be aware of your body. Allow yourself to feel what you're sitting on. And just breathe for a while. Let awareness come to yourself, to your body, to how you feel right at this moment. And let's check in on how is your level of energy right now, on these days, right? Right now and also these days. How's your level of energy? Do you feel energetic? Or do you feel tired, worn out, exhausted? Like your energy tanks are low? Just There's no right or wrong answers. We're just checking in. We're doing an assessment. How is your level of energy these days? So then let's ask, how's your mood? How's your mood? Cheerful? Excited when you look at the world around you? Irritable? Angry? Or numb and I feel nothing? Just checking in on your mood. How's my mood these days? How's your level of interest in your life? Do you wake up in the morning eager to get going on a great new day? Or does life feel sort of dull? You feel sort of distant from it all? Just checking in on your level of interest in your life. Now, let's also ask, do you have a sense of what you need? Like, probably there's something you need, something's missing, something's out of order, out of whack. Let's pause and ask, what do I need? Do I have a sense of what I need? And once you get in touch with what you need, does it seem possible or impossible? Or does it seem like there's something in the way of getting what you need? So let's just pause and acknowledge whatever is so right now. It's always a forward moving step to just notice what is true. And that's what we're doing right now, just taking some time to notice what's the actual state of affairs for you in your life right now in relation to burnout, in relation to your level of energy, your mood, your interest in your life, how close you feel to getting what you need. Just noticing. Okay, I just want to come back from my screen share and check in with people. Do you want to say in the chat? what you noticed in this assessment that we just did. What did you become aware of? And how did you feel about doing an assessment like that? Is it surprising, or is it something you already knew? I'm seeing a chat that says, exhausted, worn out, numb on the surface, but flickering underneath with hope. Beverly writes, I was not aware I had levels of burnout. I thought I was fine. Well, you probably are fine. I don't want to change your mind about that. However, there are things we can get to know and explore. Sarah writes, deep fatigue and confusion about what I need. Lily writes, I felt relief as I read and heard you. Oh, that's great. And Ruth writes, I feel discouraged. I have enough time, but don't seem to get much done. Interesting. Yeah, wonder what can help with that. We'll see. Donal, hi Donal, writes low energy. Yeah. Exhausted and wanting to withdraw. Irritable, anxious, and squeezed. Wired and tired. Yes, world weary, world weary. See, you're in the right place. No matter what you noticed, you're part of this experiment of getting curious about burnout, what it is and what will help. So having done a little assessment of your present state, we're now going to explore some things that might help. Let me take another moment in the chat here. Low energy, low mood. I think I know what I need, but I don't know how to get there. Yeah, that's another place. I came back from a trip in India and I realized I cannot go on with my life as I had, and I feel angry and irritated while in my work. Interesting. Not sure if my mental is affecting my physical or vice versa. Stuck and wanting things to be satisfying, but I'm so dissatisfied with what? Maybe myself. All right. Well, I have a few things to share with you that may help, and I hope they spark something in you. We're going to cover some things prioritizing. And it won't just be simple prioritizing, because I'm sure you know how to do that. And if it would have helped, it would have helped already. But we're going to talk about an embodied present sensing kind of prioritizing. Then I'm going to share with you some things about making fewer decisions and also asking for help. And then we're going to talk about what to do if none of those work. So let's start with prioritizing. This is a focusing way of prioritizing. All right. So most of the time, prioritizing works best if you do it at the start of your day. So right now, it's probably not the start of your day, but let's pause together and imagine it's tomorrow morning and you're taking time to plan how you spend your day. And I do understand that for not everyone, the issue is about having too much to do and not knowing which part of it to do. That's not everybody's issue. But still, let's spend a little time with this. So you're imagining that you're sensing at the start of your day, and instead of just trying to think of everything you have to do and write a to-do list, come into the body. And let's see what happens if we allow the wisdom of your body to help you sense what's most important today. What's most important today? Another way to say that is, what is the one thing I will be really sorry if I don't do today? So imagine it's tomorrow and you're asking yourself this question, and see, does it help? Does it help to say it this way? What's the one important thing? What's the one thing I'll be sorry if I don't do it today? It might not be your biggest task. It might be something small, like calling a friend or making a doctor's appointment. And And so the feel of it in your body might be a better guide than your head, your intellect. It's the one thing I'll be really sorry if I don't do it today. And you might discover that there's not just one thing, that there's 5 things. And I can't decide between them. They're all equally important. Okay. But we've paused and we discovered that. So that's important. And then you might write those down. I mean, you could either really write them down now or imagine that in this scenario tomorrow morning, you're writing them down or that one down. So the next thing I'd like you to invite you to ask yourself is, what's something on my list that I actually don't have to do today? So this is the opposite of what's most important and what I'd really be sorry if I don't do. What's something I actually don't have to do? You know, I always remember my dad giving me an amazing piece of advice when I was in college. I was living at home, but I was in college. I was taking 5 courses and I had term papers due in all 5 of them. And who knows what else was going on. And I just said, what am I going to do and I said it when my dad could hear me. So I guess I was asking for his advice. And he said something I never expected him to say. He said, you know what? If you have too much to do, leave something undone. So, oh my gosh, I have permission from a person of an older generation to not do something? That blew my mind. But it really changed my feeling of overwhelm, because now it wasn't a matter of trying to do everything. It was a matter of sensing. What do I really need to do? And what do I actually not have to do, at least not today? So let's try that out together right now. What do I what not have to do? What can I leave undone, at least for one more day? And not, right? It's not an intellectual question, it's a body question. Feeling inside, what would it be like to let that go and not do that today? And then see if that helps. See if that's the kind of thing that you'd like to ask yourself. And there's one more question I have for you about prioritizing. Is there something that I was planning to do that someone else could do? So just taking a little time to ask that freshly. Think about what you're doing, what you're planning to do, and just really asking yourself, is there something I was planning to do that someone else could do? And it sort of invites you to think outside the box, to go beyond what you were assuming already. So we're pausing now to see if this focusing way of prioritizing has helped a bit. And what it doesn't help with, what it leaves out. And again, sensing that, noticing that. All right? Oh, yeah. This was wisdom from my dad. If you have too much to do, leave something undone, right? I want to talk about making fewer decisions. Research has shown that every decision costs us something. Like we have a certain number of decisions a day that we can make easily, and beyond that, our decision-making ability sort of gets worn down. And I was so excited when I went to a presentation by a woman who shared this information about the research. And then she said, here's an example. I'm wearing the same clothes today that I wore yesterday. I didn't have to decide this morning what to wear. I just put on the same clothes from the night before. And my mind was blown because I grew up in a culture where people would notice if you wore the same clothes 2 days in a row, and it wouldn't be a nice kind of noticing. I don't live in that culture anymore. People don't care anymore if I wear the same clothes 2 days in a row. And I like my clothes. So I started wearing the same clothes for several days in a row. And I noticed I'm calmer if I don't have to make that decision. So, what are the decisions we can cut down on? Then I later found out too much washing is bad for clothes anyway. Another thing we can do is shop fewer times, plan meals ahead. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day, and almost the same thing for lunch and dinner every day. I happen to be that kind of person. I don't need a lot of variety. Depends on what makes you happy. But that's another area of life where you could make fewer decisions. So pause a moment and ask yourself, are there some decisions in your life that you could actually eliminate? Daily decisions. Um, Brushing your teeth is not a decision. So you don't have to ask yourself, do I brush my teeth or not? Just as an example. So fewer decisions is good. If you make the decisions that are important, decisions that affect the course of your life and other people's lives, that's great. But you don't have to make other decisions. And then there's this very interesting, very important area of asking for help. How is your asking for help muscle? Does it need some exercise? So once you have answered the question, does it have to get done? And the answer is yes. The next question is, does it have to be you that does it? And if it doesn't, and that would mean asking someone for help, can you ask for help? Or is there something in the way? So we can pause a moment and just notice, what would it be like to expand the number of things you ask for help with? And might there be something in you that hesitates, that feels maybe not worthy, or feels a fear of rejection if you ask for help? And since everything inside you is valuable and precious, if you have a place in you that fears asking for help, you can sit with it and say hello to it. And say, hello, I know you're there. I'm with you. I'm listening. So the feelings and beliefs around asking for help, it's possible to say hello to those. So we've talked about prioritizing, making fewer decisions, and asking for help. And what do we do if none of those work? If that doesn't make any difference? If it doesn't touch the place that feels burned out and overwhelmed? Well, in that case, perhaps there's something deeper involved. So let's bring in the idea of compassion. And that's compassion for yourself. And that's compassion for those places in you that have tried so hard but gotten worn out. The ways in which your life might not be feeling right to you anymore, like the person who just got back from India. Compassion for your own feelings of exhaustion. Do you know how often many people try to keep going? The more exhausted they are, the more they push themselves. But it might be that your feelings of exhaustion are actually giving you a message. They're telling you something powerful and important. You could pause right now and notice if something like exhaustion or other kinds of feelings needs your compassion. needs your gentleness, needs your kindness. Let a gentle hand go to the place in your body where you're feeling exhausted or something like that. What else can we feel compassion for? What about your thoughts, including a thought like, it's all too much. It's too much for me. I can't do it anymore. I'm inadequate. There's something wrong with me that I can't manage my life anymore. Those kinds of thoughts, well, they're not necessarily telling you the truth, but they come from a part of you that's hurting. So you could say, I'm sensing something in me says it's all too much. I'm sensing something in me says it's my fault. There's something wrong with me. And I'm saying hello to that. And you know, another thing that goes on when we get burned out is that it's time for our sense of who we are to evolve. Sort of like a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis. Present life has started to feel uncomfortable and even unmanageable. And that might be something else to have compassion for. And let's be sure to hold a space for the possibility that there isn't anything wrong with you. And what's going on for you right now in your life makes sense. And by turning toward it and being curious about it, there will be steps of understanding that will emerge. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see what people have been saying in the chat and talk to me some more about how you're reacting to what I'm saying so far. What's coming for you? What would you like me to say more about? Okay, somebody says, health issues really complicate things for me. Yes, I do understand that. And that is very important to say. That you may be having health issues that you recognize, but you may also understand that because that's going on, so many things that might ordinarily be easy for you are harder. You're more tired. You feel less able. Let's have compassion for that. You know, having compassion for yourself is not just part of you might feel, oh, compassion, is that all? But you know, having compassion for yourself is huge. It makes a huge difference because so many people go through their lives feeling a little bit low, a little bit bad about themselves, a little bit inadequate, or maybe even a lot. And in addition to all the things that your life demands of you, you've got a feeling inside of you that you never quite measure up, you're never quite good enough. And that is so wearing. So when you bring compassion to yourself, and I use the hand on the heart as a way of illustrating that, you know, whatever's going on in you, say to it like you would say to your own best friend, well, you're human. You get to take some rest time. No wonder you can't do it all. It's okay. We say that to ourselves. It's very powerful. And Jerome writes, I feel paralyzed facing any to-do list. Yeah. So it's wonderful to recognize that, to recognize there's something really hard and have compassion for that. There's something really hard for you about facing a to-do list. That's something you can turn toward and get interested in. What is it about a to-do list that feels so hard? So I'm invited to say more about the evolving self-image and identity. Well, what I've discovered by talking to people about burnout is that sometimes we're continuing to do the things we did because of a certain way we were understanding our life, a certain role we felt we were in, a certain idea we had about who I am. And that all those things might be ready to evolve and change. So when I look at all the things I need to do, or all the things that are weighing down on me, or all the things that are making my life too much for me, and then I ask, what if I didn't do them? Just as a thought experiment, right? I'm not suggesting you resign from your life, but just what if I didn't do all that? And then notice if the feeling that comes is, but then I wouldn't be fill in the blank. I wouldn't be this kind of person that I've been trying to be. That's a way of exploring and discovering if your feelings of burnout have to do with your identity and self-image. I wouldn't be a good so-and-so, or I wouldn't be the accomplishing person that my parents wanted me to be. And it's still your choice what to do when you discover that your identity and self-image are involved. And you might find that you yourself, deep inside, are ready to evolve in your identity and self-image. So another person says, is my exhaustion? I'm not sure if my exhaustion is the aging process or if it's something else. I understand that, being in the aging process myself, that we have that question when we feel exhaustion, what it comes from. And still, the first thing to do when you feel exhaustion is to just sense it in the body just how it is. And be gentle with the exhausted places in you. Say yes. Say to the exhausted places in you, yes, yes, I know. It's really hard to be exhausted like that. And then give yourself some rest or whatever the exhaustion is asking you for, and see whether that helps. Because I don't know if there's any other way to tell. But to give it something and then see. Somebody is writing, I think my overwhelm can really be helped by setting priorities in the morning. Oh, that's good to hear. And somebody writes, it's so reassuring and such a relief to hear you talk about self-compassion. I take a big breath and my shoulders drop and relax. Somebody writes, my to-do list feels way too long. Most of the things are critical and there's no one to ask for help. My problem is not getting to anything, let alone one a day. Well, that sounds really hard. I'm sorry you're having to go through that. So right now, even getting to one thing feels like too much. And there isn't anyone to ask for help. And that's where compassion comes in. I don't mean compassion in the sense of, well, there's nothing else to do, so just be sorry for yourself. I mean, turn toward yourself with genuine caring and just really sit with the whole way that feels and say very gently to yourself, yeah, that all feels hard. And your body wisdom may know its next step at that point. And I think it's really important to remember that we don't have to understand it all the way forward with our heads. We can pause with ourselves, and the next step may emerge. And the next step may be to take a break and take a rest, even though you have a lot to do. To take a real break, a real rest. Well, I want to talk more about what might come next, how we can support you even more. So I do have a course coming up. I'm so glad you're here so I can tell you about it. It's called Burnout Be Gone, Find Your Way Back to a Life You Love. It includes 21 daily practices. So I'm creating 21 short videos, and each one has a gentle awareness practice about a different aspect of finding your way back from burnout. The essence of the course is these 21 videos. We also have 3 live calls. They're called Q&A calls. They don't have a curriculum, but if you come, you'll be in a community of people all facing and learning about the same thing. And I will be there to support you. So here's what's going to happen. There's 21 daily practices to help you break through the burnout, reclaim your life, experience more joy. There'll be video, but there'll also be audio. You can just listen if you like, and you can also read them if you'd rather do that. So they're available in all those ways. Plus a community of like-minded people cheering you on, sharing the challenges and successes of their own journeys. And those 3 live Q&A calls with me. You can ask questions, get help if you feel stuck, and feel even more supported. As we deepen the conversation around burnout and self-compassion, we're going to discover things together. The Q&A calls are for an hour at the same time as this webinar. So you're live on this webinar, you'll be live at those Q&A calls at the same time. But I want to say one thing, which is the course is in the 21 practices. The Q&A calls, if you were not able to stay up for this webinar, if it's too late in the day for you or it's not at a good time for you, they're not essential to the course. The course is really the practices that you can get by video, audio, or PDF. And what will happen? Well, I expect you'll know how to recognize how burnout shows up for you and acknowledge what you're feeling. And you know, that's kind of like saying, I really matter. I'm important. Let's say that to ourselves. I matter and I'm important. And we'll show you in each video how to take small, purposeful steps, compassionately turn toward the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs beneath the burnout. And those can shift. And learn how the magic of what you really want can help you break through the burnout and reclaim your life and experience more joy. Because when we feel burnout, what we really want is often the first thing to disappear and go underground. Like, I could never get that. But there are ways to recover that. So just a short video each day for 21 days. My goal is to make things easier for you and not harder. Learn to recognize burnout, develop resources to turn it around, reconnect with the magic of what you really want for your life. So coming back, looking at the chat. The course starts on May 1. So it's on May 1 that the first of 21 videos comes, one a day. And so there's a short video, less than 10 minutes, that will arrive every day. Now you can take longer than 21 days if you like. But every day you'll get another one. And then the calls are on May 6, 13, and 20. The first video starts arriving on May 1st. What else did people ask me? Any way to get myself to bed on time? So important. I love it that you recognize that getting to bed on time is what you need. So my tip for that is to say hello to the part of you that feels the need to stay up. So say to yourself, something in me doesn't want to go to bed. And I'm saying hello to that. And say that with compassion. Something in me doesn't want to go to bed and I hate it. No, no, no. You be a loving presence to the part of you that doesn't want to go to bed. So you can ask it, what is it about going to bed that it finds hard? And do some listening. By the way, I love that question. What to do when you're really wired, but really tired? Well, what I would recommend is feel that in your body. So notice how wired feels in your body. Notice how tired feels in your body. Notice how wired and tired feel in your body. It's going to be different for every person. It's going to be different for you from time to time. So get curious and specific. What is this feeling like to me exactly right now? And the very process of sensing precisely, getting interested, feeling it right now, is actually going to take you somewhere. Start by just being curious. What is this exactly that I feel like? Another question, I feel I procrastinate because of exhaustion, which adds to the exhaustion. And what's the link between procrastination and the feeling of exhaustion? Yeah, I was just writing a video about that today. We're definitely going to talk about that in the course. in my opinion, most people procrastinate because there's some feeling that they don't want to feel. So, again, just as I was telling the person about the wired and tired, if you pause and let yourself really feel what exhaustion feels like sink into it, get to know it better, find out how exhaustion feels in your throat right now, in your shoulders right now, in your stomach right now. Allow yourself to really feel what that's like. Let go of the word exhaustion and see if another word fits even better. And be compassionate to that in you that feels that way right now. And that, I think, is going to open the door, because the part that procrastinates is trying not to feel that. And by feeling it, you're opening a door. Wow. Well, it's been so lovely to be with you today. Really, really nice. May your burnout feel better. And you can always email me and let me know how it's going. And if I do see you in the course, that will be so nice too. Take care. Take care, everybody. Wishing you well. More compassion for everything in your life. Thank you so much. Bye for now.